How's it going, everyone? We are starting the book review series now. We are going to begin with a book called A Garden of Pomegranates. Lighting is, there we go, A Garden of Pomegranates. But we are actually covering specifically the second section, which is known as Scrying on the Tree of Life. Now, regardless of what you think of Israel Regardie, regardless of what you think of the Ciceros, if you are a magician who is worth their weight in salt, you should be able to extract utility anywhere. Either these are going to give you exercises that you can use, or they're going to give you exercises that you don't like. Now, what do we do when we don't like something? Stop. Analyze. What don't you like about it? Once you figure out what you don't like, guess what? You found what you do like. So, you should be able to find utility in this. You might say, Corbin, I don't give a shit about the Tree of Life. I'm a left-handed magician. Number one, the Etz Kodesh, the holy tree, is a reflection of the Sitra Achra. Whatever came first, this is not what I'm here to discuss right now, at least. They are reflections of one another. The more you look in the mirror, the more you understand other people's perspective. So, that's point one. Point two, any methodology can be reversed. If this teaches you how to scry on the Tree of Life, if this teaches you how to pathwork in the Etz Kodesh, interesting timing. I'll have to answer that call later, or call him back rather. If you learn how to pathwork the Etz Kodesh, the holy tree, you can learn to pathwork in the Sitra Achra, the other side. So, I'm going to begin. I just opened up to a random spot, but perhaps we will start from the beginning. I'm going to read a small section here. And regardless of what you think about the Tree of Life, if you really want to progress, pay attention. This could very well be the thing that you were waiting to hear. What this does is it teaches you what the inner world looks like and how it operates from a lot of traditional perspectives. This isn't just Kabbalah and Hebrew mysticism. This isn't just Golden Dawn garbage, as some would say. This is an introduction to scrying. And scrying is an introduction to pathworking in a lot of ways. And pathworking is an introduction to astral projection. You want to go to the inner worlds? You want to learn inner teachings? You want to know how all of these prolific authors are writing the things that they're writing. They get it from inner teachings. And I know this from experience because I've done these exercises. I've done some of the work. Done a lot of the work, if I'm being honest. And this is a very good introduction, in my opinion, and my experience. So, what this does is it lays out an astral blueprint for you to explore. And this will do one of two things. This will either attune you to the sphere and or path that is associated with it, or it will put you in a place where your own inner symbolisms and your own inner teachings will have a vessel to pour themselves into. This is the basis of pathworking. If you ask any, I shouldn't say serious occultist, but most Western practitioners, use pathworking as a means of inner exploration. So, I am actually going to read about 10 pages from this. Now, if you have an aversion to Hebrew, if you have an aversion to angels, toughen up, grow some bark. Angels might not be angels. Demons might not be demons. Perhaps by broadening your perspective, I understand I'm being a little bit acidic. I'm being a little bit incendiary here, but it's time to grow up if these things offend you. Okay? It's time to put on your adult pants, and it's time to step out of your comfort zone. Okay. Now, this is a guided visualization into Malkuth. You can use this up or down. If you're going down into the Qliphoth or into the Sitra Achra, if you're ready, you should know what to do with this. If you say, how the fuck am I supposed to use that to get into the Sitra Achra, you're probably not ready. Let's get into it. A guided visualization into Malkuth, or Malkuth. Summary. In this pathworking, the student enters the astral temple of Malkuth, meets the Archangel Sandalphon, and has a vision of the flaming sword of the Kabbalah and the two mighty cherubs of the Tree of Life, Sandalphon and Metatron. Then they encounter the archangels of the four elements that comprise the four subquarters of Malkuth. Then it gives a path emblem. The path emblem is an equal armed cross. Now, stop. What do we do with all of this? Well, let's extract some meta truths from this. We're entering an astral temple. This means you can build an astral temple to project and explore into, whether it's a temple of Kali, whether it's a temple of Kepra, whether it's a temple of whatever. You can build an astral temple. And if you didn't know, now you know. There's going to be a vision that occurs when you do this, is another thing that we can take from this. We can take entities and call them into that temple. If this is the only thing you ever do, this will grow you so much as a practitioner. Imagine how much your life changed when you went into a physical building, like a school, and had friends and teachers and lessons. This will do the same thing for your inner spiritual world the education and the external world does for your biology, your psychophysiology, and for your career and your path. Everything is reflected at every level. We're going to project into the astral temple of Malkuth. We're going to meet Sandalphon and Metatron, whatever that means, the mighty cherubs, and we are going to encounter the archangels of the four elements that comprise the four subquarters of Malkuth. The path emblem is an equal armed cross. That means that you can create a symbol or a glyph or a sigil to associate as a portal into specific places. If this is all you get from this, this can help you an extreme amount. Now, we're going to actually read the pathworking. In your mind's eye, see yourself facing the gate to the astral temple of Malkuth. A large door is in front of you. The door is divided into four colors: citrine, olive, russet, and black. The colors form triangles, which come together in the center of the door, much like pieces of pizza or a pie. Just a moment. So you see a door. You can imagine this door as a cullis or an ingress or a portal or a gateway. I see stones stacked upon stones. And there is that symbol that is at the keystone, that circle with the citrine, olive, russet, and black. And you might imagine them like this, actually. Citrine, olive, russet, black. Carved into this portal, if there's a sort of wavering energy, once these archstones come together, perhaps a wispy energy is met between them. Focus. Focus. Thank you. Carved into the portal is the letter Mem. This looks, I'll have to draw it backwards, like this. Use any symbol that you want that relates to this, but look up the letter Mem if you want to, because it represents Malkuth. The initial letter of Malkuth, painted in white. So you've got the door, and you've got the citrine, olive, russet, and black, and you can then trace the letter Mem onto this. Astrally, you give the projection sign. If you don't know what this is, it's essentially a way to call or project yourself into a specific spot. If you're able to project your energy out etherically and astrally, you don't need to give the sign of the enter or the sign of projection. The Golden Dawn has not been around as long as pathworking has. So pathworking is not dependent upon the Golden Dawn. You don't need to learn the signs of the Zealotor and Philosophus and all of these things. You've got the door. There's a symbol associated with it. Project yourself into it. This says, once you're on the other side, you give the sign of silence. This is a way to, you project yourself, and then you give the sign of silence, and it sort of stops you where you are. There are plenty of ways to project yourself and stop yourself from projecting. Whichever way works for you is fine. Use that. Now inside the temple, you see a great 10-sided chamber with walls built from heavy, brown, earthen bricks. The floor is divided into black and white tiles. Enormous oak columns, encircled with thick vines, support a ceiling of pure rock crystal. On the southern side of the temple is a great roaring hearth. Embedded in the western wall is a blue mosaic relief of an eagle. This is assuming that when you walk in, east is in front of you. Embedded in the western wall is a blue mosaic relief of an eagle. The mouth of the bird forms a spout from which water gushes into a basin at the bottom of the mosaic. The north is a large, round, gray millstone used for grinding grain. In the east is a great brazier of incense made of gold. The scent of dittany fills the air. If you don't know what dittany smells like, look it up. And really allow yourself to smell that smell. In the middle of the chamber stands a black altar carved of solid oak. It is covered by a cloth, which is divided, like the door leading to the temple, into the colors of citrine, olive, russet, and black. The center of the altar cloth is white, and on it is a bright, burning flame. Drawing nearer to the light, you intone the divine name of this temple, Adonai Haaretz. You can also use Adonai Malak. Intonation is just sort of a long vibration. Adonai, etc. The flame burns brilliantly as you do so. Next, you intone the name of the Archangel, who governs the forces of the sphere, Sandalphon. Then you vibrate the name of the angelic order, who operate in Malkuth, the Ashim, the souls of fire, who are the essence of the sacred temple flame. They are the angels of adoration who dance like floating embers around the central altar fire. They are, in fact, the souls of human beings who are dedicated to the service of light. Now, we've got another thing to extract here. There are certain levels that you are calling. You've got the archangels. Sorry, you have the God name. Then you have the archangel. And then you have the order of spirits, which are the Ashim, much like the seraphim, the Ophanim, etc. This specific sphere calls to the Ashim. Within the swirling clouds of incense in the east, a figure emerges, appearing as a tall, feminine form in robes of citrine, olive, russet, and black. The Archangel Sandalphon, with dark hair and compassionate brown eyes. Instinctively, you give the sign of the enterer. Once again, you don't have to use these specific signs, but it is highly suggested that you have a way to test the spirits that appear so that you know that they are who they say they are. Again, if you don't know how to do this, perhaps you're not as ready for it as you might have liked to think. Sandalphon answers the sign of the enterer with the sign of silence. She speaks. You have entered the realm of the resplendent intelligence. By what symbol dost thou enter herein? You answer, by the symbol of the equal-armed cross. And you hold up the cross. You face the archangel across the light of the altar as she directs your attention to the temple flame, burning radiantly in a bowl of crystal. Prepare to enter the immeasurable region. The temple around you seems to become transparent. It fades from view, and is replaced by cloud and mist. Before you is an image of a great flaming sword, which is bent like a bolt of lightning. Sandalphon emerges from the mist and stands to the left of the sword. This time, she is cloaked in dark robes, her great wings thrown back to form a halo of glory around her entire figure. 2 rays of light emanate from the sides of her head, looking somewhat like the royal horns of Babylonian crowns. Another figure emerges, standing to the right of the sword. He is a masculine figure, with dark curly hair and a beard. His white robes are so brilliant, it is hard to make out where the robes end and his glory begins. His wings are also thrown back in a halo, and his head is graced with 2 horn-like rays of light. Both figures stand on either side of the flaming sword, with their arms stretched out in the form of a Tau cross, which essentially looks like this. Communicating without moving her lips, Sandalphon speaks to you in your mind. And Tetragrammaton Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden. So this is a call to Yehovah Elohim, or Yehovah Elohim. This is the god name of the sphere of Binah, relating to Saturn. So we are talking about the creation here. And Tetragrammaton Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden. And out of the ground made Tetragrammaton Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also, in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This is the tree that has two paths, and is the 10th Sephirah, Malkuth. And it has about 7 columns. It has about it 7 columns. And the 4 splendors whirl about it, as in the vision of the Merkabah of Ezekiel. And from Gedula, it derives an influx of mercy. Gedula is another name for the sphere of Hesed. And from Gedula, or Gedula, from Gedula drives an influx of mercy. And from Geberah is an influx of severity. And the tree of knowledge of good and evil shall it be until it is united with the supernals in Da'ath. But the good which is under it is called the Archangel Metatron, and the evil is called Samael, consort of Lilith. And between these two contraries lies the straight and narrow way where the Archangel Sandalphon keeps watch. The souls and the angels are above its branches, and the Klipoth, or demons, dwell under its roots. Metatron speaks without moving. Learn then to separate the pure from the impure and refine the gold of the spirit from the black dragon, the corruptible body. The 2 great archangels, Sandalphon and Metatron, cross their arms over their chests. And a flash of light, they and the sword are gone. And their place is a great waterfall, the source of which stretches up to heaven itself. It terminates into 4 rivers, which flow off into 4 cardinal directions. To your right is a river of fire. To your left is a river of water. Before you is a river of air. Behind you is a river of earth. You might imagine a sort of mudslide. Michael, the archangel of fire, emerges from the river of flame in the south. He is a brilliant, flaming, masculine figure, dark-haired, and dressed in red armor with green chainmail. A flowing red cloak hangs from his shoulders. His wings are feathered and red and tipped with green. He bears a wand, a great wooden staff, for he is a great warrior and protector. It seems strange how such a powerful figure can evoke feelings of awe and comfort at the same time. Now, in full disclosure, it does say he's holding a sword here, but as per the symbolism of tarot and the magician's tools, I choose to substitute a great staff. And then Raphael will have a sword or something else. It seems strange how such a powerful figure can evoke feelings of awe and comfort at the same time. You ask to see the workings of elemental fire in the realm of Malkuth. Michael reaches under his cloak and pulls out a red fire triangle, which he touches to your heart. A feeling of warmth begins to radiate through your chest. The archangel takes your hand, and together you fly up to a high wooded mountaintop where a fierce thunderstorm is lashing the earth. The black storm clouds churn noisily against the night sky. As you descend to the ground, a great cracking sound splits the air. A bolt of lightning severs a large branch of an old tree, and a blast of light and thunder. The charred end of the severed branch is still burning as Michael picks it up for you to examine. You gaze into the fire, but its heat is intense, and you do not quite understand what the archangel wants you to do. It's hot, you tell him. Look deeper, he replies. You gaze into the fire, not with your physical eyes, but with your inner vision. Your vision of the fire seems to warp, as if the image of the fire was shifting in dimension. The heat of the fire lessens. At least it doesn't seem to bother you anymore. You now see white flames, not red. And you realize that you were looking at fire on a microscopic as well as microcosmic level. This is very important. Our perspective is like a prism. You can see that the physical source of fire is a rapid chemical change that releases heat, energy, and light that is accompanied by flame and is the oxidation of a combustible substance. Yet you can also see that the spiritual source of the chemical reaction taking place is a result of the workings of spiritual creatures known as salamanders. These are a form of elemental, the elemental beings of fire. You see a small dancing flame-like creature. You see small dancing flame-like creatures forming into S shapes and joining together to begin the process of combustion. Perhaps these are small yod symbols. As two salamanders twist together like serpents on the staff of Hermes, they produce a flaming spark. You are also seeing one entity who is the leader of the others, a small red-haired human-like figure who sits cross-legged in the center of the flaming creatures. Michael tells you that this is Jinn, king of the salamanders. There's a lot to extract from this if you know how to analyze. Using Salve et Coagula and all of these teachings can yield gold. The vision fades as you draw your consciousness out of the flaming branch. Michael points to an area of dense undergrowth next to the blasted tree. The lightning has set off a brush fire, which has spread widely through the woods. You are dismayed at this destruction, but Michael tells you that this particular fire is beneficial to the forest, clearing old dead trees and brushwood so that new saplings have a chance to take root and grow. Your anxiety lessens as you realize that this purification will, in the long run, be good for the old forest. You contemplate the heat within your own body and how your body works to change food into heat and energy. Excuse me. Michael seems pleased with you. He takes your hand once more, and the two of you fly back to the junction of the four rivers. As you set down on the ground, Gabriel, the Archangel of water, emerges from the river of water in the west. She is a flowing feminine figure with a full body and face, fair-haired and dressed in robes of blue and orange, with an orange rope around her waist. Her wings shimmer like liquid glass, and she bears a large blue cup. She is very lovely and comforting to look at. Excuse me. You ask her to show you the workings of elemental water in the realm of Malkuth. Gabriel reaches into the folds of her robe and pulls out a blue water triangle. She touches it to your navel. A feeling of warmth begins to radiate there. The Archangel takes your hand, and together you fly over a vast ocean. Far below you are several dolphins, breaking the surface of the waves in play. Farther ahead, you spot a pair of blue whales, truly giant creatures, blowing spray from their massive heads as they exhale. You and the Archangel pass over these peaceful creatures. At length you see small dots of land, islands of earth, against the vast canvas of sea. Gabriel sets you down on one of these small pockets of land. In the center of the island is a small freshwater stream, which flows out into the sea. Excuse me. Gabriel instructs you to cup your hands together, fill them with fresh water, and observe. You do so. It's wet, you tell her. Look deeper, she replies. You gaze into the water again, this time with your inner vision. Your image of the water seems to bubble and warp, as if undergoing a dimensional shift. The bubbles disappear as you gaze into the microcosmic level of water. Against the pure translucence of water, you see atoms of different chemical compounds bonding together and forming molecules and new substances. But you also see tiny spiritual beings, tiny orange and blue eel-like creatures swimming in endless circles, penetrating the borders of each new molecule, even penetrating the bodies of microscopic animals and plants through osmosis. These are the undines, the elemental beings of water, silently doing their divine work, passing information and consciousness from one molecule to the next, cycling energy and patterns, causing ripples of manifestation, movement, and flow, and initiating the process of purification. In the midst of these undulating creatures is one who has human features and bluish skin, looking somewhat like a water sprite from European folktales of long ago. Gabriel tells you that this is Nixa, queen of the Undines. The vision fades as you draw your consciousness out of the water into your cupped hands. Gabriel tells you to drink the water, and you do so, letting the cool liquid quench your thirst. You imagine the undines moving within your blood, taking food to all the individual cells of your body, and carrying away the toxins. The thought of this process of purification leaves you feeling cleansed and refreshed. Excuse me. You look up and see the tranquil features of Gabriel. She takes your hand once more, and the two of you fly back to the junction of four rivers. As you set down on the ground, Raphael, the Archangel of Air, emerges from the river of air in the east. He is a tall, ethereal figure, fair-haired, and dressed in robes of yellow and violet. His pale yellow wings are diaphanous and transparent, like the mist itself. He holds the caduceus wand of mercy, of Hermes. I imagine him, like I said, with a sword. The sword relates to air as well. Never have you seen a more regal-looking figure. This is absurd. I've never yawned this much in my life. You ask him to show you the workings of elemental air in the realm of Malkuth. Raphael reaches into the folds of his robe and pulls out a yellow air triangle. It's like this, with a line through it. He touches it to the base of your throat. A feeling of warmth begins to radiate there. The Archangel takes your hand, and together you fly above the clouds. Soon you are soaring higher than even the birds dare to fly. The wind whips through your hair and clothes. You pass in and out of the clouds, feeling their cool moisture on your skin. You plunge toward the earth and at breakneck speed, only to turn away at the last moment, climbing high into the stratosphere. Excuse me. You plunge toward the earth at breakneck speed, only to turn away at the last moment, climbing high through the stratosphere. Then Raphael takes you high above the mesosphere, some 50 miles above the Earth's surface. From here, you can see whole land masses between the breaks in the clouds. Above you is the vastness of darkening space, the stars and the planets in their silent majesty. What do you see below? the Archangel asks. Clouds. Look deeper, he replies. You gaze into the atmosphere again, this time with your inner vision. I swear I slept last night. Your vision of Earth's surface. Your vision of the Earth's surface seems to warp and curve. You now see the patterns of air currents above the planet's exterior, as if they were painted in different colors with an artist's brush. The shifting currents, the changes in wind speed and the air temperature, the formation of thunderstorms and whirling patterns of hurricanes are all visible to you. You can now see how crucial the volatile element of air is to the Earth's weather, and how often it works in tandem with the element of water. It wraps the Earth in a protective blanket that makes life possible. Raphael takes you down through the atmosphere, plummeting earthward. When you near the Earth, he slows, and you gracefully touch down on the ground with barely any effort at all. Raphael gestures toward a grassy field surrounded by a grove of trees. With your inner vision, you see thousands of sylphs, tiny spiritual beings with gossamer wings, carrying lanterns. From a distance, they resemble fireflies. The lanterns they bear are containers of the life-giving spark that is carried by the air to all air-breathing creatures. Even the water creatures need this spark, obtaining it through the gills or through skin. The element of fire also needs the life-giving air for combustion. A group of sylphs flitter around, one who is larger than the others, resembling an elf or pixie with the wings of a dragonfly. Raphael tells you that this is Paralda, king of the sylphs. As you stand there, you breathe in the sylphs. Their oxygen enters your lungs and is carried to all parts of your body. You feel the life force in every cell. Invigorated, you look up to see Raphael smiling down at you. He takes your hand once more, and the two of you fly back to the junction of the four rivers. As you set down on the ground, Uriel, or Ariel, the Archangel of Earth, emerges from the river of Earth, or the landslide, in the north. Like a fairer version of Sandalphon, Uriel, or Ariel, is dressed in robes of citrine, olive, russet, and black. Her wings are black, tipped with white, and she holds stems of ripening wheat in her hands. You ask her to show you the workings of elemental earth and the realm of Malkuth. It should also be noted that you can picture them holding a pentacle or a pentagram, or even a starfish or something like that. You ask her to show you the workings of the elemental earth and the realm of Malkuth. Uriel reaches into the folds of her robe and pulls out a black earth triangle. Focus. Follow. Okay. Black earth triangle. A triangle with a line through it, facing downward. She touches it to your feet. A feeling of warmth begins to radiate there. So now we have one here, one here, one here, and then one at the feet. She touches it to your feet. A feeling of warmth begins to radiate there. The Archangel takes your hand, and together you fly over miles of mountainous terrain, flat grasslands, and lush rainforests. Suddenly, Uriel plunges into the earth. Although you are startled, you are unharmed. The two of you burrow downward into the soil. Finally, you drop into a cavern with an underground stream flowing through it that sparkles randomly with gemstones. The floor of the cave is alive with creatures, insects, and earthworms. Uriel kneels down to examine the ground. She tells you to do the same. What do you see? She asks. Bugs and rocks, you answer. Look deeper, she replies. You gaze into the earth again. This bubble, excuse me. You gaze into the earth again, this time with your inner vision. Your image of the ground seems to bubble and distort. The distortions disappear as you gaze into the microcosmic level of Earth. As you focus your vision into the black background of the soil, you see spiritual beings directing the movements of the insects. These entities are small black creatures of various description. They are the gnomes. Some look like creatures of European folklore, but others look like black earthworms or amoebas with auras. Such a variety. Several of the creatures are performing different functions. Some are pressing dirt and minerals into gemstones. Very interesting. Some are creating pockets of metal ore. Some are directing earthworms to tunnel through the ground and aerate the soil. Some are releasing minerals from dead organic matter back into the soil. Such busy creatures for such a static element. Indeed. One of the more classical-looking gnomes, larger than most, stands in the midst of the others, stroking his beard. Uriel tells you that this is Gob, king of the gnomes. You reach down into the soil and find crystals of salt. You realize that your entire body is comprised from minerals of the earth. You and the earth are made of the same substance. Parts of you once existed in other creatures and plants and in the soil itself. Uriel interrupts your contemplation. It is time to go back. The Archangel takes your hand and pulls you up out of the earth. She flies you back to the junction of the 4 rivers. The 4 Archangels surround you once more, like ancient megaliths. They tower over you. But they still have more to show with you. They still have more to show you and share with you. With your inner vision, you see the planet Earth suspended in the midst of 4 Archangels. You see what environmental imbalance and clifothic evil, I would say clifothic distortion, unleashed by humanity, can do to the planet. You see a rainforest, the size of the state of New Jersey, burnt to the ground in a day. You see the burning of fossil fuels and the metric tons of pollution they throw into the air. And you see deadly toxins dumped into the planet's oceans and rivers, seeping into the groundwater that we drink. You also see acres of wilderness areas, bulldozed, replaced by buildings and parking lots. All of these events happen on a daily basis. This vision shows the material desires of humanity running amok and endangering the earth that we live on. It is a sobering image, and you vow to use your powers of discrimination to help restore the earth's balance. Make whatever vows you will. In whatever manner you can, the Archangels offer some final advice to you. Raphael states, be prompt and active like the sylphs, but avoid frivolity and caprice. I believe these are the words of Crowley, but they are still useful, whether or not you have an aversion to Crowley or not. So much of this path is about learning to separate yourself from knee-jerk reactions and opinions about things that are creating barriers between you and growth. Again, Raphael says, be prompt and active like the sylphs, but avoid frivolity and caprice. Michael advises, be energetic and strong like the salamanders, but avoid irritability and ferocity. Gabriel says, be flexible and attentive to image like the undines, but avoid idleness and changeability. Uriel states, be laborious and patient like the gnomes, but avoid grossness and avarice. Sandalphon speaks to you, so shall you gradually develop the powers of your soul and fashion yourself to be a worthy vessel of the divine light, or inspiration, however you choose to see. The 4 archangels of the elements are gone in a flash of light. You are again in the temple of Malkuth. standing in front of the altar across from Sandalphon. You have never left the temple, and your pathworking. Sandalphon seems pleased with you. The halo of light that surrounds her at all times seems to glow ever more brightly. You thank Sandalphon for this, the first of many explorations of the Tree of Life. She graciously nods her head and fades from view. You turn and face the portal through which you first entered the temple, giving the projection sign, or whatever sign you choose. Once on the other side, you give the sign of silence, or whichever sign you choose. Now, there is a lot to unpack here. But essentially, if you take one thing from this, it's that active imagination channeled into correspondent themes will open a doorway to so many places. Anyway, that's all for this one. Perhaps we'll do the other 31 paths. Perhaps that's copywriting. I'll look into that. But this is the first of the book reviews, and it's also the first of the pathworking series, I suppose, which is one reason that I wanted to start with this book. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Have a good rest of the day.